the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Wayne Malou. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. Happy Good Friday. Is that what people say?
Yes. Happy Good Friday to you, William.
Yeah. What's going on, man? Elite hat today, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Just wanted to give a quick shout out, actually, to Tina Lee over at TNT.
Gotcha.
Supermarket. Huge fans over there.
Wow.
Tina Lee, Justin Wu of the Raptors Show. So figured I'd rep their hat today. We got to get Tina on the banter pod, man.
Okay.
That's CEO of TNT, CEO talk. You ready for some CEO talk?
We've been doing CEO talk, so I'm ready.
Really?
To do that.
List some examples.
No, I mean, I just recently, all we've been talking to is like, crazy rich Asians, essentially.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
a live
true.
show with Bobby Webster once again.
Oh, yeah. Bobby, safe flight back from Boston after resolving the Downton situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we starting with Jeff Down again? 1 minute. You have 1 minute on this.
Again, like I said yesterday on the show, this could have been a Zoom call.
Yeah. So Jeff Down,
This
by
could
the
have been
way,
an email.
yes, for people that don't know.
This could have been a text message.
Yes.
Just no.
Yes,
No, period.
For people that don't know, it's official that his two-way contract is not going to be converted. So he will be with the team in a hoodie on the bench, but he won't be part of the final 2 regular season games, the play-in, and however long that the Raptors are going to go. And our Michael Grange caught up with Jeff Down at shoot-around this morning, and Jeff said that he's proud of the way he finished the season, and he said that the communication with the team yesterday was very positive, and said that, quote, he's going to be the best cheerleader that he can be. So we converted Jeff Down into Thanasis, is, I guess, the news.
That's not true. Thanasis gets more than the minimum.
Oh, God. We talking dollars? Damn.
Which, by the way, I always thought, like, if the Bucks really wanted to pay Giannis $70 million a year, which is not allowed in the CBA, what is stopping them from giving Thanasis a $15 million contract in addition to giving Giannis like 55?
Oh, okay. So you mean like paying like Thanasis like a huge amount as a way to just like say thanks to the
Antetokounmpo money
family.
anyway because their family's so close.
Yeah.
It just goes into the Antetokounmpo pile.
Well,
so is that what would happen? Is Adam Silver going to step in and be like, guys,
I think
making this too obvious?
I think Pat Connaughton might step in. Several members of the team
Got you.
might step in. No, Thanasis was actually in the news today because there's a Bucks reporter. I wish I had the name. My bad. But like I saw, he actually did a story where he talked to executives around the league about whether Thanasis deserves a spot on an NBA roster.
Okay.
And the overall consensus was no. Like obviously it's because Giannis is there and things like that.
Okay,
and that became a discussion.
Here's the thing. Why did that need to be a story? That's actually elite hating. Like, honestly, like...
Listen, nepotism is everywhere.
Everyone knows, but you didn't need to write a whole thing where you sourced it and everything. That's elite hating,
Sourcing
man.
anonymous front office execs about the Thanasis Antetokounmpo situation.
These execs couldn't go on record either, by the way. They're like protecting their anonymity.
No, but this is the malaise of the final weekend of the regular season leading up to the play-in. Like, I came in today, I was feeling a little malaise. Just because everything is mostly settled now, especially on the Raptors front.
Yeah.
And then you try to get excited for these other races. Like, one of the big ones is Oklahoma City and Dallas are fighting for the last play-in spot in the West.
Okay.
And I saw the injury report today because Dallas is playing at Chicago. Chicago has nothing to play for. And Dallas is sitting multiple starters, including Kyrie Irving, who are just listed, like several of their players are just sitting, are just resting. So it looks like they're trying to just tank out of it and just get into the lottery.
I think every year we're reminded of this, but like once you get into this last week of the season in April, especially the last weekend here, over like Easter weekend, it's like, I mean, the motivation's got to be so low for some of these teams, man.
Like, I thought you were going to say for yourself.
No, imagine like you're the Detroit Pistons and you're Dwayne Casey and you're like, hey, boys, good job out there tonight. You lost by 30. Practice tomorrow morning. Who do you think is coming to that practice? You know what I mean? You think Corey Joseph's waking up and being like,
Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman needs reps.
So I just think motivation is quite low.
Yeah. Dwayne Casey was in the news too, as you just reported to me before we came on there.
Yeah, so Jake Fisher of Yahoo had a report in there. I clicked it because obviously he had news notes about Nick Nurse in Houston, and it's kind of the same thing that we've heard about in other places in terms of, Nurse might ultimately move on, and Houston would be one of those likely destinations for him, and that Ime Udoka is potentially coming to Toronto. Like we've heard this idea, right? But I was reading more and more into it, and Jake also had this note from the Detroit Pistons. So Dwayne Casey, obviously former Raptors coach, now the Pistons head coach, left reporters waiting in his post-game news conference Wednesday night. He then revealed the delay was due to meeting with Detroit owner Tom Gores following the team's game against Brooklyn, Casey told the assembled media they will meet once again after the season end and further discuss his future with the franchise as Casey is under contract for the 2023-2024 season. So this is actually very similar to the Nick quote.
He copied Nick's whole flow.
He was just like, yeah, I've been here for 10 seasons of tanking, and I got to reevaluate, right? But anyway, the part in pertaining to the Raptors is that if Casey were to vacate Detroit's coaching staff, Milwaukee Bucks assistant coach Charles Lee is mentioned as a top potential candidate. Also, Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin, who has secured several head coaching interviews in the past, is another name to keep an eye on, sources told Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports. So my question to you is, how down bad is Dwayne Casey going to be if he gets replaced by his assistant's assistant, just as he did a couple years ago with Nick?
Yeah,
that's tough, man.
That's not going to be a good situation, especially considering, I pulled up. So Dwayne is in his 5th season with the Pistons now. The first season he was there, they made the playoffs, got swept by the Bucks in the first round, won 41 games. This was like
that the Blake Griffin?
Yeah,
year?
the Blake Griffin team.
Yeah, they beat the Raptors 3 times that year, by the way. The championship-winning Raptors.
That's right, and they celebrated very loudly in the Scotiabank Arena locker room, as people reported after that first game here in Toronto. But since then, the 4 seasons, they've won 20 games, 23, and this season they're a league worst right now, 16 and 64. Damn. And it's interesting because, for Dwayne, right now they've got the best odds of landing the number 1 overall pick, along with Houston and San Antonio. 52% chance that's going to be a top 4 pick. So, there is potential for a Victor Wembanyama to go to Detroit, and which would change their situation right away. So it is interesting. I think Dwayne sees that, the team is probably headed towards the right path, depending on how the lottery goes and for the next couple of seasons. So I think it is within his right. I guess it makes sense for him to try to secure this next part of the franchise's growth now, right? Because his contract is up.
No, for sure.
It would be a shame, though, if he went through this tanking process. And Dwayne's talked so much about developing and all this stuff for the organization if they were to part ways now. Yeah, it would be all for naught.
Yeah, but this is what happens. Like, this is why franchises and players and coaches don't really want to tank, because, again, like, very few people survive through that. You know what I mean? Even in rare cases like Brett Brown, who was able to sort of oversee all the losing. Yeah. All of the, like, Tony Roten is my number 1 player.
Oh, God.
Henry Sims is my number 2 player. You know what I mean?
That's
even worse than Jericho Sims.
I was just going to say,
honestly,
simulate all of those.
They had a Sim City lineup, man.
That's wild.
But, like, Brett Brown was able to at least oversee that and eventually get to the playoffs with that team. But even he didn't really survive long term. And that's sort of the rarer case. So it's unfortunate. I think Dwayne kind of knew what he was signing up for in Detroit, though.
Yeah, the other example is Steven Silas. Like, Steven Silas has been through this rebuilding, and by all accounts, he's out.
They're speculating about his job right now while he's still in it. They're like, yeah, Nick's just coming. And it's like, oh, yeah. Well, I guess that means he's going. Which, wouldn't be a surprise by any means. But
Steven Silas has won 57 total games in Houston in the 3 seasons.
3 seasons, 57 wins.
57.
Man.
So
that's tough.
Appreciate this Raptors 40-40 season.
Well,
appreciate it.
That's
or appreciate it as much as you want. No, so it'll be interesting. Little musical chairs with the coaches, but nothing new on the Nick Nurse front.
No, it's all the same. It's just like essentially Nick could just walk off the job, I think.
Right.
Which all right. I don't think anyone would be too surprised.
Yeah, well, the Raptors are playing in Boston tonight, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the second segment. First, wanted to talk about the new collective bargaining. Michael Pina.
Anything else?
Michael Pina of The Ringer, who we had on a week ago.
Yeah.
On Friday, I don't know if you remember, you were doing your little thing where you were pressing about his awards, ballot, getting OG on the defensive team, getting Pascal, and then you got what you needed, and you just told Derek to hang up the phone.
What else was Michael going to give us?
Very efficient there. Yeah. But he did publish his awards at The Ringer this week. And, last week when he was on the show, he said that Pascal was on the bubble for the All-NBA team. And based on his ballot, Pascal did not make it. So on his first team was Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic. On the second team, Dame Lillard. I guess individual stats, Dame does deserve to be on there.
Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. And on his third team was De'Aaron Fox, Steph Curry, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle, and Domantas Sabonis. So Pascal did not make the cut. Yeah. Any issues? with that?
No, I mean, I think, the spot would basically be, does he get it over Lauri Markkanen or Julius Randle? I think you can also put Jaylen Brown as a guard
Mm.
and create another forward slot if you really wanted it to. Clearly, this is already missing some really talented forwards on the list because of KD and Kawhi and LeBron, but those guys all missed enough games where it's like, okay, you're not really considering those guys, even though we know quality-wise, those three guys are definitely three of the best forwards in the league. But yeah, I mean, the arguments would be with like Lauri Markkanen or Julius Randle, and I think like Randle should be on the list no matter what. Really, like the Knicks have had such a good season; they deserve one representative. There's no doubt about that. So I'll just give Randle the spot. But I think even with Lauri Markkanen, for example, so like Lauri is averaging one more point per game, and the biggest thing is that he has a 8% higher edge in true shooting percentage, which is significant. To be honest, that's probably why he's scoring one more point per game. He's just more efficient with his scoring. But I think the argument for Pascal is he's played 4 more games and counting, right, than Lauri. The Raptors have more wins, which obviously is not that much of an accomplishment considering the fact that the Raptors are disappointing and actually the Jazz have been overachieving despite them wanting to tank. But I think the bigger edge is like, what do you value more, playmaking or scoring efficiency, right? Because I think for Pascal, he averages over 6 assists per game, and Lauri averages less than 2. So we're talking about an additional 4 assists. Now, does that overcome 8 percentage points of true shooting? Probably. I'd argue that. I mean, I would even give it that their defense is probably the same this season. I think Pascal has not played his best defensively this year, and Lauri's not really known for his defense. But so we'll just even say that's an even. But I mean, there's a case there, right? Like, if, for example, he has Jokic on the first team, but Joel Embiid on the second team. And I'm sure if we asked him about it, he'd say, well, Jokic has so much more playmaking in addition to Pascal, or in addition to Joel. Well, I guess you can extend that same argument to Lauri versus, Pascal, for example. But I mean, like, again, like Pascal is on the bubble. So, like, you can make these arguments for a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a huge surprise here. I think Pascal is on that list, like we said, of guys that are just kind of on the fringe of making the third team. And yeah, no, the choice of Jokic over Embiid, Jokic on the first team. So Pina also revealed his MVP pick, and he's going with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, there's no surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have him over Joel on the first team,
So,
yeah. He also said he was the biggest Jokic fan in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that on our show.
Yeah, so, but yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see about the MVP.
No,
list,
look, listen, I'm not ultimately like upset. This is not like one of those things where it's like we gotta like go after Michael Pina.
Like, let's get Howard Beck on the phone. Let's get the other 99 votes. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Get the Podfather.
Listen, if the Raptors had the record that the Raptors should be having, and Pascal's having this exact same year, he'd be on the All-NBA team.
Yeah,
but the Raptors' success and lack thereof, and also the disappointment around the team, has now left it so that he is not on the team.
Well,
or that he is a fringe candidate for the team. And even last year when he made it, if you look through all the votes, he was actually the guy who got the least amount of like points to get on the team. That's not this besmirch the appointment, but I was just saying that he was on the bubble last year when the Raptors won 48 games. This year, when the Raptors are really struggling to even crack 500, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, I think, Pascal and Pascal's reps would probably differ, in this opinion that I'm going to say, just because, we've noted that there's a difference in the extension that he can get, right? I think it's almost like $100 million difference if he made the All-NBA team.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think the main thing for Raptors fans and stuff is knowing that, they have an All-NBA player. Like, I don't think it's disputable that Pascal's an All-NBA player. It's just that when it comes to these voting sometimes, especially, on the bubble for the third team, that's going to happen. Better news, OG did make all-defensive second team on Michael Pina's ballot. So first team, he has Drew Holiday, Alex Caruso, Draymond Green, Evan Mobley, and Brook Lopez.
Okay.
On the second team, Derek White, Dylan Brooks, OG Anunoby, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Nick Claxton. And he also said, quote, if the season had ended in December, Anunoby might have won Defensive Player of the Year. His popularity peaked, but his quality of play did not. And he noted that OG still leads the league in steals and is second in deflections. I think it would be a bit of a surprise if OG does not end up on an all-defensive team at the end of the season.
I think he deserves to. There's no doubt. And again, like, this is easier for voters to look at, where it's like, okay, who leads the league in steals? Is OG? Most likely is going to be on the list. We also know that he's just a great defensive player. It just looked like the last game, for example, against Boston, right? Obviously, the Raptors lost, but the Raptors actually defensively did a great job collectively as a team. But who led that charge? It was OG Anunoby. 4 steals, 3 blocks while guarding Jaylen Brown, force him to multiple turnovers, force him to shoot an inefficient percentage. Like, that's what OG does. And I think with OG, too, the case is you have the ability to guard multiple positions. When you go through this list of, like, MVP candidates here, right, his top 5 on this list, OG has guarded number 1 on his ballot, Nikola Jokic. He's guarded number 2 on the ballot, Joel Embiid. He's guarded number 3 on the ballot, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's guarded number 4 on the list, Jason Tatum. He's guarded number 5 on his list, Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah, he did a great job on Sabonis.
And he literally did a great job on all 5 of
all
those guys.
5, yeah.
So that's why OG's on the list. There's no doubt about that. I think for me, like I would put Jaren Jackson Jr. ahead of Evan Mobley on the first team. Evan Mobley would be on the first team ahead of Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah,
and also
you're
like,
a Mobley hater, though.
No, Jared Allen should be on the list. Who's the best defender on Cleveland?
All right.
It's Jared Allen.
All right, we'll dive into that
So,
later. No, I know you're a Mobley hater, though.
No, I'm not saying you don't put Evan Mobley on the list, but you're telling me Jaren Jackson Jr. is on second team while Evan Mobley's on first team?
No, that's fair.
Jaren Jackson Jr., he's leading the league in blocks. He's like the bedrock of that whole defense for Memphis, which is why they're successful in the first place. So.
Yeah, I think I think same with all NBA teams. It's there's a lot of guys that aren't going to make the cut. You know, make honorable mentions, which is tough. So some of the other awards I thought we could go through.
Okay.
So Rookie of the Year, I think this is a pretty no-brainer for everyone. You know, he's got Paolo Banchero as the number 1.
We're gonna force you to learn Spanish, man. This guy sounded like Herbie on the pod today.
My bad.
Oh man.
Shouts to Herbie. Walker Kessler, who many Raptors fans would like to remind people that, you know, the Raptors could have drafted.
Yeah, for sure.
If they didn't make the Thad Young trade. And Jalen Williams, one of the 2 Jalen Williamses on OKC. But Paolo, like averaging 20 points. Yeah. You know, he's just been a huge surprise, I think, in terms of what they were expecting in Orlando in the first year. Tell you, man, Orlando's going to be a fun team next year. No more.
Wait, hold on. Was it a huge surprise? He's a number 1 pick.
Yeah, but to average 20 points is pretty impressive, though, I think, like coming in right away.
Oh, for sure.
Like to come in and have that production right away.
It's rare to see rookies come in and play a power game, I feel like. And the ones that do usually stand out a lot. Like Zion came into the league, obviously played power game, right? And of course, he was injured for a lot of his career, including in his rookie season. But when he did play, it was like, holy, like, I don't know how to stop this guy. Yeah. Or like rookie Blake Griffin came in and
you
played
know how
the
you
power
stop
game.
Zion? Wait till he goes on the injury list for 2 months.
No, that's tough,
no, like all
that's
jokes aside, it is sad. Like he's basically been shut down for the rest of the season.
No, he's got to see the LeBron James defeat.
Oh, man.
No, LeBron James defeat has to see with Zion Williams because I really want to see Zion Williamson healthy.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, with Paolo, like he has that like bully ball game for a wing that already came into the league and he's ready with it. You know, you can make comparison to like Ricky Melo, for example. It's like a little bit similar in that sense.
That's a good comp.
Jalen Williams, I think, probably should be third on this list or second on this list, to be honest.
Okay.
He's like not that far behind, more efficient, better defensively than Paolo.
Yeah.
I don't think he's number 1, but I mean, there's a good case for him ahead of Walker Kessler,
Walker
who only plays
is
like 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, he's a media darling though. He got that little kind of media juice. I feel like Walker Kessler.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's played great.
Not to take away from his play.
Of course. Yeah.
I think there's definitely a preference.
He's on that, like Josh Giddey's on that list too.
Oh yeah. Sixth man of the year, as you saw the other night with 29 points off the bench. Pina's number 1 pick is Malcolm Brogdon, and he's got my guy Emmanuel Quickly, number 2, and former Raptor Norman Powell, number 3.
Yeah.
Once again,
hard to argue with this list. That's pretty good to me. I have no contention.
Once again,
with
sixth man
one.
of the year, just sort by points per game type.
That's what I'm saying. Like
beat.
people don't really care as much about this.
Is there another way to look at sixth man though, aside from, I mean, just the scoring? Because it's been that way forever, right? Jamal Crawford,
for
all
sure.
these guys. Like, is there another way? Like, should you be looking at it as like a complete?
I mean, like
player type,
like Iguodala coming off the bench for the Warriors all those years and closing all of those games. I mean, if he didn't get consideration or if he didn't win the award in that stretch, then I don't know. I mean, it's going to be really tough, right? So I think, this is one way to argue it. I mean, most times when you're bringing guys off the bench, like they're probably there for defense, it's probably there for energy. For guys who can come in and also like run the offense, like Brogdon last game, we saw like how good he was off the bench, right? Like,
I'm so jealous the Celtics have so much depth, man. It's not fair, man.
So I mean, that's part of why the Boston is so good is that they have like continuously guards who can come off the bench and sustain the offense. So I mean, Brogdon winning it would be a cool choice.
Yeah, I know you hate saying anything nice about the Celtics. I can feel it in you. You're like, it would be a cool choice.
Yeah,
yo, let's devote a whole segment to hating on Evan Mobley during the playoffs, by the way.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I like that.
Can you write that down somewhere along with drafting all of LeBron's lies?
Oh, yeah.
We need to get some drafts going in the playoffs.
I'll rundown, baby.
Coach of the year, Mike Brown is Michael Pina's pick. Number 2 is OKC head coach Mark Daigneault. And Joe Mazzulla is number 3. I think Mike Brown is going to be pretty much a unanimous winner, I want to say. Do you have any arguments against Mike Brown being the coach of the year?
Absolutely not, man. Mike Brown absolutely deserves it.
Is there any other coaches outside of the three here?
Yeah,
Mike Brown, Mark
I think
Daniel,
Jamie Bickerstaff should really get more consideration here.
Okay, especially because he has to prop up Evan Mobley.
No. I'm just saying, like, he's done a great job managing Cleveland. Obviously, like, Cleveland is like this is the first time they made the playoffs without LeBron in the
since
21st
'98
century.
Yeah,
like,
since
this is wild.
I love that stat. By the way, I need a judgment from a ruling from you on this.
Yeah, okay, got you.
So KD is shooting 56.1% from the field on the season.
Yeah.
And there have been people online that are saying he's having a 60-40-90 season. They've rounded up the 56.
No.
What is the ruling on rounding up?
No. The ruling is not that.
How close do you have to be? Would you
gotta
allow
be like 59.5?
Would you allow 58 as a roundup if he was at 58.5?
No.
Okay, we're just doing actual math rounding.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
No, man, come on. What are we doing? I'm sorry, 50-40-90 is not good enough anymore.
By the way, KD's only lost one game since January after their win over Denver yesterday.
This is like the gifted kids who are like begging for extra marks in the AP classes so they could have 103% in AP math. Like,
I
just
love
enough. You got 100. You're happy with that. Like 50-40-90 is literally the NBA definition of getting 100% in your report card. You don't need to beg for 103 so you can get into whatever program, like Mac Health side. Like, get out of here.
Waterloo.
No, you don't need that for Waterloo.
Get into. No, I think with all this player propaganda that's happening now, I feel like we need to rein it in a little bit. Rounding 56 to 60, I feel like is the breaking point for me.
No, that's part of my hater segment. That's no way, man. That's not how you apply mathematics. No way.
Yeah. Most improved player. I think there's a huge pool of players to pick from here. And Pino went with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
Larry Markkinen is number 2. Nick Claxton is number 3. I think sometimes there's an argument too of like which is the leap that you respect more, right? Like, is it the Larry Markkinen leap where he was kind of a fringe rotation player, role player type, and now he's all-star, to Shai, who was already a star player and now is arguably like a top 10 player.
Yeah, for me, I think Shai making the harder jump gets him the number 1.
Okay.
So I actually have no doubt about this, but I really like this list. All 3 of these guys are really good candidates.
Yeah, Pino knows ball, man.
He's a hoop knower.
Defensive player of the year. I was surprised by this one. This was one that I was surprised.
Okay.
Draymond Green.
Yep.
Was his pick. Number 2, Evan Mobley.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to present an argument against Evan Mobley for me because
he's not the best defender on his team.
Okay, no, but I'm gonna need a hard 15-minute argument.
Okay, you know what? We will
get
prepare.
that prep for me.
We'll prepare for that. No, it's no offense to Evan Mobley. He's a really, really great young player who's
That's what the
contributing
segment's
to a
gonna be
winning
called.
team.
No offense to Evan Mobley.
No, but I mean, like the second best. It's essentially you're saying he's the second best defensive player in the league now. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not even on this list.
Yeah. So number 3 was Brook Lopez. I thought Giannis was gonna make this list too. I feel like you don't think Giannis deserves consideration too. I know Brook Lopez.
Sure, yeah. Again, Brook Lopez is the more impactful part of Milwaukee's defense, so he's on here ahead of Giannis.
Yeah.
Like it's actually the same kind of deal, really, when you think about it.
With
in terms
Mobley
of Evan having a similarity to Giannis in terms of defensive responsibilities, mostly as the help side roamer, all that kind of stuff. And then
the easy stuff,
playing backup center a little bit more versus like Evan Mobley or versus Jared Allen being like the primary defender who's like primarily challenging the most shots and all that kind of stuff. No, I mean, it's fine. Look, listen, I think Evan Mobley will get to this level as a player, as a prospect. It's going to be great. But it bothers me sometimes when people like jump ahead of the situation.
They rush to just like anoint him.
Because to me, I think that like we rush to anoint the person, and then when they don't actually catch up to those expectations that we like rushed ahead to, then we tear them down. And to be honest, it even happened here with Scotty. Yeah. Exactly. So I actually don't want this to happen. Let's just evaluate as they are instead of like being like really, really like in love with the potential aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah. And his rationale for Draymond was the Warriors have the 18th best defense this season, but with Draymond on the court, they basically rate out as like one of the best defensive team when he's on the floor.
You get no argument from me, man. Draymond is phenomenal defensively. I wouldn't put him number 1, but he's definitely in consideration for number 1 every year.
Yeah. By the way, did you listen to Draymond's podcast with Pascal? I have
did.
to admit, I have some player podcast fatigue, so I passed on that one.
I did.
Did they once again revisit the 2019 finals?
They did.
KD? Okay.
They did.
Okay. So I didn't miss much.
You know what? I like the question that he asked, where he was like, so it's before Game 5, and you guys realize KD's coming back. What's the emotion in your locker room?
Oh,
and
what
Pascal,
did he say? Yeah.
Pascal was like, listen, obviously we were confident. We were in control of the series. They were up 3-1 at that time, and they're at home, ready to close it out. But then they're like, but when that first quarter, when KD came out and made every shot, he's
Oh
like,
my
there was some
God.
hesitation. There was some like nerves at that
Yeah.
point. So, I mean, that's just normal. That's just human, right?
Hmm.
But obviously, we know who won. My disappointment is they didn't discuss specifically
The shot.
last shot.
The shot.
The
Yeah.
last shot, because the Raptors were up one with 30 seconds left. They called timeout. They drew up the play. They went to a middle pick and roll with Kyle Lowry screening or getting a screen from Pascal Siakam.
Mm.
Draymond was the defending Siakam in that scenario. The pocket pass went to Siakam rolling to the basket, and Draymond famously reached in. Pascal was very smart, tucked it under his arms, ripped through the foul or whatever, and then went for the push shot clear. Obviously, after Draymond reached, he was out of position, and then Pascal made the bucket. I think that was the more important basket.
Oh, yeah.
Of all of Game 6, like when it came down to the last possession, and
Mhm.
that's the play they drew up. Like Nick could have very easily been like, all right, let's just clear out, give it to Kawhi, let him cook,
Mhm.
right? But they didn't do that. They ran that play, and I would have loved to hear Draymond's reaction to why he reached in that possession.
So Draymond on his own podcast just omitted that.
Well, he also really omitted the Jordan Poole situation too.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, yeah.
But anyway, it's a great listen. It's a great listen.
Okay. I just got player podcast fatigue now.
Who's your favorite player podcaster?
I don't know. I guess the obvious pick. I still go with, can we go with retired players too, like a JJ
Yeah.
Redick?
You like
I
JJ the
yeah, I
most?
like listening to JJ's pod.
Yeah.
I think Draymond's good in like certain interviews when he does with players and stuff like that. I don't like when last summer he was doing these like free agency recaps and he was just getting mad at people. He's like, why are you so mad that KD's demanding a trade? If I worked at Apple and I wanted, you know how he always goes.
Name
if I worked
any
at
other employers.
if I worked
man,
at
please,
Apple
man.
and I wanted to go to Google,
Yeah.
no one would give me a hard time.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I do feel like for these player podcasts too, it's kind of hard, especially when they're still playing. Like you mentioned, like the Jordan Poole situation or these things. Like they want to market it as like, oh, this is going to be the unfiltered view of it. But
no
you
one's
still have
ever
to.
unfiltered, man.
Yes.
The only unfiltered podcast is the Banter Pod.
No, but the other thing, well, even then we have some things we can't share. But I think the other thing too, like I heard an ad for a Tyrese Maxey podcast that's coming up, and I'm
I
just
did
like,
hear that too. Yeah.
and I'm like, at some point, I'm just like, how many is too many?
Everyone's gonna jump in on this. Like if you and I can podcast, I'm sure players can podcast.
I know,
And they'll have much more easier access. They'll, there's the built-in rapport. Like it's a leg up, man.
And now Bob Myers.
Like we try to hoop.
Bob.
So what's wrong with them trying to podcast?
All right. Go listen to Thanasis' podcast all weekend.
Yeah.
While you hoop. Actually, that'd be pretty sick.
That'd be hard.
No,
man.
but Bob Myers has his own pod now. Like he has his,
that's
like
a new
sit
one.
downs.
Maybe we got to get Bobby to do a podcast.
That would be sick, man.
Yeah.
No, it's getting out of hand. Anyway, so last
First topic. Why didn't you convert Jeff Dowden?
the last.
Sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff.
The last award, yeah, shouts to his family. The last award is the most clutch player, which I forgot about. The NBA just be making up stuff, man.
I mean,
yeah. Most clutch player, number.
I actually kind of like this award.
He goes to Michael Pena is picking De'Aaron Fox. Jimmy Butler's number 2. DeMar DeRozan's number 3. Notable for the Raptors, they might be seeing number 2 and number 3 on this list next week. So.
Come on, man.
What?
You're right.
Why
You're
am I?
right.
What am I striking fear into you about the play-in tournament?
Yeah, it's a one-game do or die.
Don't worry, we have OG Anunoby on DeMar.
Hey, man, we're going to have OG's going to be guarding both these guys. Yeah, De'Aaron Fox absolutely is going to run away with the award. But I like this award. Like, it's actually kind of cool to be able to sort of give this.
Yeah. Do you think it's mean to want a least valuable player award? Yeah, like an LVP.
I mean, that's hard to argue, like, because you can have guys who played at like 10-day, for example.
No, but I think you can set a criteria.
It's like a minimum threshold. Like you played 1,000 minutes, but
feels like bullying at this point. But like I would pick Ben Simmons.
Yeah, that's
right. Like
that's
you have to look at a player
Not
with like a certain criteria.
Yeah.
So, all right, feels a little mean. Let's cancel that
All
one.
right. What about least clutch award? Sorry. This is the Raptors.
Least clutch.
Sorry.
Least clutch would be pretty wild.
Might have some candidates.
Oh God. Anyways, let's take this break. Will's producing his own segment after this.
I can't wait.
And then we're gonna also look at some preseason over/under totals to see who are the most surprising and disappointing teams this season.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good spot for us to break. I've been your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Sway Malou. I continue joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong in the second segment, and joining us for a very brief 5-minute cameo is
5 or less.
Okay, all right, relax, man. Producer J.R. Manitat, what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I told you to bring your best national TV outfit, so you got this going on.
I texted you. I was already in it when you told me, "Are you coming in the office?" Like, yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah,
Don't
so
worry.
Will's the face of the franchise, and I'm the producer here. But occasionally, franchise players like to step in and play general manager and produce. So Will had an idea for a Friday segment. So
I had an idea.
Take it away before I
this
take the
is
reins
great.
back. Yeah.
So to set this up, there is the NBA app is actually doing a series of like player profiles on second-year players or just young players in general. So there's an episode about Scotty Barnes, and they followed Scotty for a day, and he went to
Scotty Barnes.
yeah, they followed my man Scotty Barnes to Real Sports, where he had a post-practice.
Real sports. I couldn't go
Lunch.
anywhere else in the city.
Well, I mean, it's right there. It's right. It's right there.
Okay, it's right there. Just like the Raptors in the fourth quarter, they're right there.
Yeah, they're right there. So Scotty had a dinner with Precious and Christian Coloco, and they had this interesting conversation. And as soon as I had it, I knew we had to have Jay Rizzi on. Derek, play the clip.
So, first question. Do y'all boys got Riz?
What is the difference?
Y'all boys got Riz?
No, I don't. That's how I'm learning from you. What is it? Because I didn't know that until recently.
You didn't know what Riz was?
No, I know what Riz is, but do you
It's
know
like- it's
what?
like-
It's a short form of something. Do you know the actual
It's
original
like game,
word?
like your game.
No.
Oh,
Like
so
your
what's the full time?
I figured it's charisma.
Charisma.
So charisma, then Riz. So would you say you have charisma?
Yeah,
Are you a
charisma.
charismatic person?
I got Riz. I would say I'm charismatic.
So you're a charismatic person?
Yeah, type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so first off, Alex, did you know that that's what Riz meant?
No, actually, I had no idea because I know this has been a term that's been used by the younger kids, popularized here in the studio by JR as well. But like, I didn't know. So the origin story it comes from charisma? Like, is that really the origin story?
That's the first time I heard it. And
Okay.
but when Precious said that, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, if you really dig into it, like people are saying that one of the social media personalities that he streams on Twitch, Kai Cenat from New York, he originally made up the term Riz.
Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right.
it's like pretty much what they explained it in the clip. Riz is pretty much spinning game, attracting a love interest. A W Riz is when you secure that number, that IG, that Snapchat or whatever, that Be
Got
Real.
you. Yeah.
And then there's another term that spins off of it from it. It's called unspoken Riz. So
Oh.
for example, I'll bring it down to basketball terms.
Okay. Yeah. No, we need a whole breakdown. No, let's go. Go ahead.
Unspoken
Go
Riz.
ahead.
You see Gary Trent Jr. on the bench.
Yeah.
He throws out some fits.
Yeah.
That's unspoken Riz. He's an attractive guy. He throws on some nice little fits. He throws
Okay.
on the Gucci reversible like jacket.
Got you. Yeah, I love reversible jackets.
Another unspoken Riz example would be, do you remember when Jalen Brunson dropped 40 points?
Mhm.
That was the day that when they beat the Brooklyn Nets, Iggy Azalea was in the stadium at
Okay.
MSG.
Okay.
So that's like,
Got
unspoken
you.
Riz.
So Jordan Poole. Yeah.
Jordan Poole,
Yeah,
he's
got
some
you.
attractive,
All right.
goes off,
Right.
drops some triples, Austin Reeves as well for
What?
LA.
Austin Reeves. Oh,
Austin
man.
Reeves might have some unspoken Riz.
That's-
But yeah, that's
that's-
pretty much it. Yeah.
So
I
who's
wasn't really familiar with your game.
I was not
yeah.
familiar with
Wasn't
Austin
familiar
Reeves.
with
Austin
Austin Reeves'
Reeves.
we
game.
have that as a
Come on.
clip now? I can never say that
Yeah.
again. So who's gonna step in here and change the questioning that Will has in the rundown? So who's the all Riz team for in the NBA then?
Yeah, give me the
Oh.
all Riz
So
first team.
so Gary I think is on there.
Gary's
He's
on
got
there.
the charisma, right?
Jordan Poole,
Jordan Poole.
Austin Reeves.
hmm
These are all guards. We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a small
No,
line.
no, yeah,
a
no,
small
it's-
line.
You know what? I feel like
It's all right.
Shea should be in there too.
Oh, Shay's.
I feel like Shay's got
off the
that.
bench. Shay's off the bench,
Right.
but he's taken.
Oh, we got second
Oh,
team all
okay.
Riz.
He's taken. I
Okay,
gotta protect my
okay.
boy from Hamilton.
Got you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Austin Reeves. Did I say Austin Reeves?
You got Austin Reeves. Why are you
Yeah.
so insistent on Austin Reeves
No,
having this? All right.
Austin Reeves I think
Yeah.
makes
I
sense
think an
as well.
underrated player would be Tyler Hero.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we'll go with
Yeah,
that.
All right.
What about Jimmy Butler too, man? No?
Oh no, I think.
Okay.
Let's not speculate on that one, please.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to. Okay, never mind, man. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking from a. I'm just thinking from a.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just
great
thinking from a
clip.
charisma.
Got you. Got
perspective.
charismatic. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I think that's it.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
Thanks for explaining this,
Yeah,
because
no,
we always
appreciate
call
you,
you Jay
JR.
Rizzi, so obviously we had to have you on for
yeah,
this
yeah,
segment.
yeah.
Shouts to that segment for Scotty Barnes. If you want to learn more about how his sophomore season
Yeah,
is
Scotty
going,
Barnes has some riz.
Scotty got some Riz.
Scotty
Okay,
got
yeah,
Riz.
we'll put Scotty a center on the Riz lineup. Then there you go.
All
All
right.
right,
Appreciate you, JR.
Scotty Barnes.
there we
And
go.
for everything that you do to help us behind the
Yeah,
scenes as
and
well.
straight to pod tonight.
Yeah, straight to pod.
Gotcha,
I'll
gotcha.
text you later.
All right,
All right.
all right. Get out of here.
Appreciate
Skedaddle.
it, brother. Scattle. Anyways,
It's great that we had that cleared up.
Bye, Felicia.
Wow.
back to regular programming now. JR, you can just walk by, man. Chris Boucher, it was announced this week that he donated sum of money to the Toronto Metropolitan University to establish the new Slim Duck Scholarship.
That's
and
awesome.
And the
man.
gift
Yeah.
from Boucher's Slim Duck Foundation is going to open the door to university education for 5 students of Caribbean descent to realize their academic aspirations.
Mhm.
You know, I know we did a charity event with Chris earlier this season, was able to raise, you know, some good money towards his foundation. And I know Chris has always made this a kind of huge priority for him,
Yeah.
especially as he's obviously gained more financial stability in the NBA and stuff. So this was super great to hear, man.
Is financial stability the new word for being rich? Gain
Yeah.
some financial stability it means you
yeah.
got rich.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but honestly, like, no, this is awesome. Like, Chris has really made a point to invest both in Toronto and in Montreal, right? The two places that he's really called home
Yeah.
for an extended period. And no, it's really, really great to see. I think it's really cool that the Raptors have, in the last couple of years, really invested heavily in the in education. You see this obviously even on a live event with Bobby Webster, right? The funds for that went towards a scholarship fund.
Yeah.
Back home in Hawaii, right? We see Fred has invested with the U of T, and there's a scholarship fund set up there. Scotty Barnes set up a scholarship fund with the trade
Pascal's work with like local kids.
has also
and all
worked
that
as well,
stuff.
giving away laptops, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of money, by the way, that these people are putting into this,
Yeah.
and I think that's just really cool, man. I think first and foremost, like, it's not just about these players like playing for the city and wearing Toronto on the front, but it's also about like they really want to like foster community here, and I think that. That's always been something that the NBA and also other sports really try to foster. But, obviously there's a difference between like, hey, you're going to NBA Cares, you're going to take a photo op versus like this step too. And I do think that it's cool that it comes all the way from the top to the bottom, right? Because obviously Masai at the very top of this whole thing, like he has such a large and 20 years, they're celebrating 20 years at Giants of Africa this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
20 years?
Yeah, they're having a huge celebration in
That's-
Rwanda, I believe.
That's amazing.
But it's like, 20 years of setting that as an example. So,
yeah.
no, I think it's great, man. And Chris has a very, very kind heart. If anyone has listened to any of his
Definitely.
Hustle Play podcasts, like he really gets open about these things. So
Yeah.
this is awesome, man.
No, I love that. This is the charitable, giving back. That's the real Riz, man. And
Wow.
also the WNBA game taking place in Toronto, May 13th.
Mhm.
Also, they announced this week that they've gotten 15 major
15, wow.
marketing
Okay.
partners, some of them including Air Canada. This will be of news to you, Will. They're going to launch a nationwide AC fan flight contest.
Sorry. It's hashtag AC.
Oh,
Fan Flight.
hashtag AC fan flight contest.
Search my Twitter account for
Yeah,
that
Will
hashtag,
was a
please.
former participant of this.
Mr.
during-
Moments. Search my hashtag.
during the
Search
Raptors
hashtag.
Wizards series, the one where they didn't get swept and they won.
I believe there's a 10 things from Raptors Wizards game 4. Hashtag NBA, hashtag We the North,
Yeah.
hashtag RTZ, hashtag AC Fan Flight.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Any tweet more than 5 hashtags.
I started from the bottom, guys. You don't understand.
Any
I started
tweet
from
more
the
than 5
bottom,
hashtags, man. You better be getting paid, man. Otherwise, you need a social media manager.
Okay.
Air Canada is launching this nationwide contest, and they're going to invite communities from across Canada to nominate a girls basketball team to attend the game, to fly them in and attend the game. So that's
awesome,
super cool, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there's
I like that.
super long list. Canada Goose is going to be providing apparel to players on both teams, on the Chicago Sky and Minnesota Lynx. And Nike's working with basketball leaders and for a community discussion on empowering the next generation of female basketball athletes in Canada, and on and on. Like there's so many of these, big name sponsors. And again, I think, this event is going to be, I think, like a jumping off point to whatever's next for WNBA here in Toronto. So
Yeah,
I'm
I mean-
excited. I'm super excited about this game.
Absolutely. As you know, with any sort of professional sporting team, like you need a lot of sponsorship backing
Mhm.
to sort of make it
Yeah.
both like successful and also viable in the first place, right? And I think that, yeah, I mean, over the years, you've really seen an evolution of this. Like you've seen it from Canada basketball as well, just the Canada basketball program. Like they've been able to attract bigger sponsors as time has gone on, and they've been able to really expand their product. And I think that, the WNBA coming here to Toronto, I had no doubt that they were going to be able to attract this type of attention. But no, I think that, this is like one of the vital steps towards it. Obviously, the Raptors aren't hurting for sponsorship. But like there's just such a huge appetite for basketball in Canada, first and foremost. And I think that especially when you're thinking about the WNBA, and there's essentially considering like, I think there's like 6 cities in the mix for contention of like expansion. And if they're going to expand, there's probably going to be one in the East, one in the West. Like part of the case for, Toronto would be that they would be able to attract this major amount of sponsorship. So you're looking at an airline right here. You're looking at a major apparel company, and you're looking at Canada Goose. Like that's pretty good. Like maybe I'm just watching too much Mad Men, but how many millions in billings are we talking about over here? You know what I mean?
No, this and this is just 3 out of the 15.
Sure,
like,
for sure.
People can check out the list.
No, I'm excited,
online.
man. Well, it'll be the only basketball games going on at the Scotiabank Arena May 13th. That's for sure.
I already made that joke a couple months ago.
All right, well, now we know for sure.
Oh God. Yeah. Before we get to talking for a few minutes about the Raptors Celtics game tonight, I was also coming down to the end of the regular season. Pulled up the preseason over/under win totals for all 30 teams, and compare those totals to their actual win totals so far, just to see like who actually underperformed, overperformed expectations, and kind of met expectations.
Wow.
So the most disappointing team, if you go by difference in over/under to actual, was the Detroit Pistons. So
I was really surprised by this one.
So they were at 29.5 wins before the season. That was the betting line. And they are coming in right now at 16 wins. So that's the biggest differential. But, setting them aside,
and by the way, that one is just Kate Cunningham was not healthy the whole year.
Yes. I think that was the main difference. Also on this list of teams who underperformed their over/under win total by 7 or more, Golden State, the Clippers, the Mavericks, and the Timberwolves. Golden State was at 52.5. They're coming in at 42. Same for the Clippers.
Right.
Mavericks were expected to win 48.5 coming off a conference finals appearance. They're at 38 right now. Minnesota was getting a lot of hype after the Rudy Gobert trade, was at 49.5. They're at 40. So to me, those are really the most disappointing teams, and I think that kind of lines up.
Yeah, and I think the interesting factor that goes into all this is just like there was so much parity in the league this season, and I think that really allowed for a lot of these scenarios to pop up. Obviously, like you're just essentially, if you're saying the Warriors are going to win 53 games and the Clippers are going to win 53 and Dallas is going to win 49 and Minnesota's going to win 50 and the Phoenix Suns, who's also on the list, can win 53. Like that's got to be the top 6 in the West, and that's not what happened. Denver obviously is at the top, and Memphis and Sacramento. So yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise, I guess.
If you were to pick on this list, like who is your most disappointing team?
Dallas.
Okay, yeah, no, I think I'm with you right there. I would put Minnesota there too, though. I feel like there was just expectations.
Did I buy into it that much though?
Okay, because there was buzz about them being like a top 4 team, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
like Rudy Gobert was going to be that final piece.
I mean, I'm sure we can go back and listen to this.
But you didn't see it.
I just was a little bit skeptical as well.
Okay,
but Rudy is playing a lot better recently, so
yeah, so they're going to be in the play-in. The Raptors fall in this like kind of next tier of just teams that underperformed within like 3 to 6 wins. So the Raptors 46.5 over/under win total. So the best they can get to is 42.
Yeah.
Which I guess, given all the disappointment of this season, let's say they win these next 2 games, I guess they kind of came in around their over/under total.
Yeah.
But expectations were higher than 46.5 wins locally.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Right. And then you got a team like Portland. Better pray that Dame, doesn't win a championship next season. They were 39.5.
Does play-in championship count?
I don't even know if they can win that at any point.
Well, they're not in it right now. So.
But yeah, no. Check out the Blazers roster right now, by the way. They're at 33.
That's a good lead.
So yeah, a lot of these kind of middling teams, and I think it's all parity. And I think the most interesting for me is just teams who overachieved based on their over-unders. Cleveland stands out to me. They were also 46.5. And I think Cleveland, by all accounts, despite Evan Mobley being one of the worst players in the league, they have had the season that I think a lot of Raptors fans were expecting this team to have, coming in at 51,
right.
having 51 wins. My Orlando Magic, 26.5, with 34 wins. The Knicks were a big surprise as well, 38.5, and they've got 47. Who of this list do you think is your biggest kind of overachiever of the season? I would put OKC in there too. So OKC was actually OKC and Sacramento were the teams that most outperformed their over-under. Sacramento was expected at 34.5. They have won 48. OKC was only at 23.5, and they've won 30.
Right. I think those two, in addition to Indiana, who also got off to a great start as well. They I'm sure they blew past 24.5. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, so
December,
they were 24.5,
right?
and then they've got 34 wins right now.
That's impressive. By the way, you maybe look up the Trailblazers last game where they lost 119 to 109 against the Grizzlies. Some of the players on this list, I mean, I just did not know who it is. Like, for example, S. Mays was their starting shooting guard. Who's S. Mays?
I don't know. I think they have a Janathan Williams or something like
They
that.
have a Jay Butler Jr. And I was like, oh, Jimmy Butler Jr.?
Oh my
No,
God.
it's John Butler Jr.
No, you know what's bad when the only player I know on their roster right now is Trenton Wofford.
He didn't even play last game.
Oh my God.
He didn't play last game.
You don't understand. They are signing guys from the G League to like 10 days.
They have Justin Minaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of these guys, Jabari Walker, maybe heard of him. But Skylar Mays was
should
the
they
answer.
get, like, you know, I know Adam Silver is not a huge fan of the tanking here.
Like, okay.
You know, should there be any penalties for this? This is so excessive.
This is
Like,
this
they
is
might as
worse
well
than the
just-
Tampa tank. I'm not gonna lie.
They might as well just forfeit these games.
They have Jonathan.
Yes, that was the person that I was referring to.
Jenathan
Yeah.
Williams.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like these are players that you literally haven't even heard of.
This is what happens if you play like 2K or if you play FIFA for like your My Player campaign
Yeah.
for like 10 seasons as I have in FIFA 18.
Yeah.
The computer just starts generating people for you on the team. They're like, your star signing this year is Jonathan Williams.
No,
I was like, oh, okay.
This is when the gaming companies doesn't have the licensing to the players, and they just have to make up names. But
I'm happy for these guys at least.
yeah, sure. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. Toronto Raptors wrap up their 2-game series in Boston tonight against the Celtics. They are a -2 favorite. They are a 2-point favorite on the road. Let's get to the injury report here. Okay, this is even more surprising because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are not on the injury report. Questionable are Malcolm Brogdon, Peyton Pritchard, Marcus Smart, and Derek White. So Al Horford is not on the injury report. Jaylen Brown's not on the injury report. Jason Tatum's on the injury report. Okay, my guess is because Boston has nothing to play for, maybe they will play them for like 1 quarter or like 12 minutes. And for the Raptors, Jeff Down and Otto Porter Jr. out. So
Jeff Down's not even on the roster. We already went through this.
Well,
that doesn't count on the injury report.
He's listed as out. Well, does Otto Porter count? That's another discussion.
Well, he's not even here, so.
Yeah. So, the Raptors are 2-point favorites. I think the expectation here is that Boston is probably not going to be playing their starters that much tonight, even if they're available.
So let's just say the Raptors lose the first half by 10 points to their starters
and
their full roster. Second half, they bench everybody. They play Mike Muscala. And
still a pretty formidable team. You know, they might bring Blake Griffin out there, Robert Williams, Grant Williams. They're still players.
This is a really hard one to bet. I don't even know how you would approach this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess I would say I'd take the Celtics, but that's really tough. I mean, obviously the Raptors have way more to play for.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean, like the Raptors right now, I think the models are like 95% likely that Atlanta's going to be 8.
The magic number is 1.
9,
the magic number is 1 right now for the Hawks to clinch.
Oof, man. Wow, how would you bet this? This is like a coin flip, really. But I'm just gonna say heads, and I'm gonna say the Celtics.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is really difficult because again, like this is not a usual game. So I'm saying at the top of the show, like the motivation for these April games just drops so low. Everybody's just trying to like chill for a week, finally, because you've been going through this daily grind for like 6 months, and now you're finally here, and you just want to chill a little bit.
Yeah, so I would actually say, you're right. This is a tough part of the season to kind of bet on. So I would stay away, and may I recommend the Brooklyn Nets -11 at home against the Orlando Magic, because Brooklyn does need to win to clinch the 6th spot, and Orlando does not have much
That's a good one
to play for. And that was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. This is it, man. This is the end of the regular season, man. When we come in on Monday, we will be in play-in mode.
That's right. We'll tee up the inevitable play-in series 9-10 with Chicago. Get your tickets now if you haven't already, by the way. If you have $500, $600 to sit in the Sprite Zone. I guess we ran out of time to talk about the new collective bargaining agreement, Alex.
Oh, man. Maybe next week I can get your thoughts on positionless All NBA and things of that nature. And then, no marijuana testing.
No, yeah. Well, who's been testing for that in the NBA for the last 5 years now? So, anyway, that does it for us today. I've been your host, Willu, and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. Thanks once again to JR Manatad, producer and co-host Alex Wong, our board producer Derek Brandale, Jennifer Rona for helping on the YouTube stream. Have a happy, super long weekend.